Hey everybody, today we are looking at compositions of transformations. And all that means is that we are combining multiple transformations together. So now we've looked at rotations, reflections, and translations individually. Now we're going to look and see what happens when we start to put those all together. So one specific type of a composition is called a glide reflection. A glide reflection is simply a translation and then a reflection over a given line. So you translate it first and then reflect it. All right. One thing that you need to know is anytime we're combining isometries. So remember, our transformations that are isometries are rotations, reflections, and translations. And anytime I combine any group of those, from the beginning to the very end, I've never changed the size or shape of the figure. So my final thing is still going to be an isometry. So as long as I'm using isometries in my transformation, my composition is also going to be an isometry. So let's take a look at some other examples here. Okay, we talked about a glide reflection. So now I want to talk about reflections across two different lines. Okay, if I reflect across two parallel lines, all right, then if I look at it as one transformation, it's the same thing as a translation. So if I look here and I start with this blue triangle and I reflect it over this first line, I get this green dotted triangle. All right, if I reflect the green triangle over this parallel line, it becomes this red solid triangle. So if I look at the blue all the way to the red, notice that it is just a translation straight across. All right? If I'm going to reflect across lines that intersect, all right? If I take this blue triangle and I reflect across this line, I get this green dotted triangle here. All right? And if I reflect the green triangle across the next line, I get the red one. If we look at the first triangle to the last triangle, I end up having a rotation, and the center of my rotation is going to be the degree or the intersection of my two lines. The degree of the rotation is whatever this angle measure is, and it will be doubled. So if this angle here is, let's say, 50 degrees, then the rotation angle from here to here is going to be 100 degrees. It'll always be twice the measure of the angle that's formed by the lines. All right? So those are some things that are going to be important that you kind of keep in mind. So let's take a look at how we are going to do multiple transformations. All right? We're going to start with triangle RST. RST has vertices 1, 2 for R. S is going to be at 1, 4, and T is going to be at negative 3, 4. So what I'm going to do and what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start by writing those coordinates, but I'm going to leave a little bit of space up here. So I'm going to write my original pre-image points right here. So I'm going to have R, S, and T. Okay? So what I'm going to do with them first is I am going to first reflect or rotate this 90 degrees about the origin. Remember that when we're rotating 90 degrees, it is going to be counterclockwise. My rule of rotation for 90 degrees is negative y, x. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at R prime. Negative y is going to be a negative 2. X is going to be 1. S prime, negative y is going to be a negative 4. My x again is 1. And for T prime, my negative y is again going to be a negative 4. And then my x stays the negative 3. All right, so that is our first transformation. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is rotate it 90 degrees about the origin. So that's what we're going to do first here. That's what we did. So what I want to do is I'm going to graph this. So I'm going to do negative 2, 1. All right, negative 4, 1. All right, so this is going to be R prime, S prime, and then I'm going to do T is at negative 4, negative 3. Here is my T prime. So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dot this because it's not done yet. So you notice like in our examples over here, when we were looking at the multi-reflections, they kind of dotted the middle. So you knew that that was just a middle transformation. It was not, our final ending point. All right. Then our next step is we're going to rotate it, reflect it across the y-axis. So then from here, we're going to reflect. So I'm going to reflect my changed points. So my R prime was -2, 1, S prime is -4, 1, and T prime, forgot the prime up here, is -4, -3. So anytime you're doing a composition of transformations, you're always going to start with the one you just finished, okay? So the very first one uses the pre-image, then I get my second figure. Well, my next reflection, in this case, is going to start with this figure and then reflect. So my rule for reflection over the y is going to be -x, y. So I'm just negating that x value. So now we're going to start to see these double primes. So anytime we are, I'm talking and not listening to or not paying attention to what I'm writing. Anytime we're rotating or reflecting or translating, we're doing multiple transformations, we're going to add a prime. So the first transformation gets the single prime. The second transformation, we're doing the double prime. So I'm going to negate my x value. So this is going to be 2, and then I leave y the same. So my S double prime, again, I'm just going to change my x value to a +4, leave y alone. And then, writing S again. And then my T double prime is going to be 4, -3. So then we're going to regraph this. So right here is 2, 1. So this is my R double prime. All right, my S double prime is at 4, 1. T double prime is at 4, -3. And then we're going to go ahead and connect my shape. And then what I also want you guys to do is go ahead and just shade in this final figure. All right. Again, that helps your final transformation stand out just a little bit. So when you are doing multiples, go ahead and just shade that final figure. All right. If you have any questions on that, go ahead and write them down now. And we're going to go ahead and on to the next example. Okay, looking at this example, now I'm looking at 3 different transformations. So the first one, we did 2 transformations. This one, we're going to look at 3. All right. So I'm going to start by writing the coordinates of my pre-image. All right. So with my pre-image, point A is at the point 2, 2. Point B is at the point 2, -2. And C is at the point -2, -4. So anytime we're doing multiple transformations, one of the easiest ways to keep track of everything is to put it in a table. All right. And then you can do what I've done here. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the rule up here underneath our thing. So that way we can keep track of what our images are doing just a little bit easier. So the first thing I want to do is I want to reflect over the line L. All right. Now, because line L is not y = x and it's not one of our axes, we don't really have a rule for this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to count. All right. So A prime is right here. Okay. And if I count, it is 1, 2, 3, 4 units above the line. So then we're going to turn around and go 1, 2, 3, 4 units below the line. So right here is my A prime. This coordinate is 2, -6. Okay, let's look at B prime. B prime is actually on the line, so it is not going to move at all. So B prime is also to -2. And then we're going to take a look at C prime. C is 2 below the line, so to reflect it, I have to go 2 above the line. So that's going to put me right here with my C prime. All right, so that is going to be the point -2, 0. All right, and then again, I'm going to go ahead and dot my line, but I'm going to draw that triangle in. All right, so I've reflected it now over the line L. And then we're going to do a 180-degree rotation. So when I rotate 180 degrees, my rule is -x, -y. So I'm going to turn around now for a double prime, and I'm just going to negate both of these values. So instead of 2, it'll be -2. Instead of -6, it'll be +6. Okay, so we're going to go through and just negate all of my values and switch all the signs. So remember here, 0 doesn't have a sign, so it stays 0. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and graph these points. So A double prime is going to be at the point -2, 6. So A double prime is up here. All right, B double prime is -2, 2. So here's B double prime. And then C double prime is going to be at 2, 0. So here's C double prime. And actually, I'm going to switch these so that they're written on the other side. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and draw in that triangle. All right, so if you look at the green triangle, I've rotated it 180 degrees to give me the blue. All right, now my final piece is I am translating it about vector xy. So what we want to look at is vector xy, what is happening? So remember, x is your initial point, y is your terminal point. So we're starting with x and we're going to y. So our vector xy is going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be x minus 6. To go to y, I'm going to go up 1. So it's going to be y plus 1. So that's going to be my rule for using this vector. So everything on my blue triangle is going to shift to the left 6 and up 1 because that's the way my vector is pointing. All right. So let's take a look here. So my A triple prime, okay, -2 minus 6 is a -8. 6 plus 1 is 7. Then we're going to look at B triple prime. Okay, -2 minus 6 again is a -8. 2 plus 1 is 3. And my C triple prime, 2 minus 6 is a -4. And 0 plus 1 is 1. So now we're going to graph these points. A triple prime is at -8, +7. So A, 1, 2, 3. Okay. B is going to be at -8, +3. So B triple prime. And C is going to be at -4, +1. All right. We're going to connect those points. And this is my final image. So I'm going to go ahead and shade it in. So you can kind of see how shading in your final image, especially when you start adding multiples on here, is going to make it easier to see which ones are which. All right, and to see which one is your final image. So please go ahead and get in that good habit of shading that final image. Now, I want to show you again with this translation. I did that backwards. if we copy this, you'll notice A to A prime, or A double prime to triple prime. Okay? Back 6, up 1. I can run this down the whole side and move it all along, and all the points are going to match up, okay, with this vector. So now we're looking at 3 transformations. Let me know if you have any questions. All right? So go ahead and write those down if you have them, and then we're going to do another example. All right, so with this example, we're going to start with a reflection, then a rotation, and then we're going to translate. All right, so I'm going to start by writing the coordinates of my original point. All right, this is going to be my original point here. So D is at the point 1, 3. E is at the point 5, 3. F is at the point 7, negative 1. And G is at the point 1, negative 1. So we're going to start by reflecting over the line x equals negative 1. So when I'm reflecting over the line x equals negative 1, again, it's not one of our ones that we have a point for. So we are going to start just by graphing that line. Now, because it is an x equals, I just did this totally wrong. Because it's an x equals, we know that we are going to have a horizontal line. Or excuse me, a vertical line. Okay, so anytime we have x equals, that means I have an undefined slope. That's a vertical line. So it's going to be at a vertical line where my x-intercept is negative 1. So this line right here is going to be the line x equals negative 1. All right? So again, the best way to deal with these when you don't have a reflection that is specific over one of our given lines is to just count. So D is 2 from the line, so D prime is also going to be 2 from the line on the other side. So D prime is going to be at the coordinates negative 3, 3. All right, E is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the line this way. Okay, so that's my E prime, which is at the point negative 7, 3. All right, F is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the line. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the line on the other side. So this is going to be F prime. And then G is 2 from the line. We're going to go 2 from the line over here. So this is going to be my G prime. So F prime has the coordinate negative 9, negative 1. And G prime is going to have the coordinate of negative 3, negative 1. So then again, we are going to go ahead and connect our points. And I'm using dotted lines because it is not the final transformation. All right, so I'm going to use the graph to find this one. All right, if we had an actual reflection rule, you could just do the rule right there. All right, the next one that we're going to look at is we're going to do a 180-degree rotation. So again, my 180 rotation is negative x, negative y. So I'm just going to negate my x and y. So it's going to be 3, negative 3. E prime is going to be 7, negative 3. F prime is going to make both of these positive, so 9, 1. G prime, both of these will also be positive at 3, 1. So let's go ahead and graph that. So at 3, -3, right here is going to be D prime. 7, -3 is going to be E prime. 9, 1 is my F prime. And 3, 1 is my G prime. So we're going to go ahead and connect those points. All right, and then the final thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to translate along the vector x minus 8 and y plus 2. So with D prime, 3 minus 8 is going to be -5. -3 plus 2 is going to be -1. All right, E prime, we have 7 minus 8 is -1. -3 plus 2 again is -1. And this is actually triple prime here, guys. I apologize. These should be double. So those should be double. Sorry. All right, so F triple prime, 9 minus 8 is a +1. 1 plus 2 is 3. And G triple prime, 3 minus 8 is going to be -5. 1 plus 2 is 3. So then we're going to go ahead and graph these points. All right, so we have -5, -1. So right here is D triple prime. Okay, E triple prime is -1, -1. F triple prime is 1, 3. So this is actually now my F triple prime right here. All right. And then G triple prime is -5, 3. So it's going to go right here. So sometimes they're not real pretty. Like this one's kind of awkward in that it is in the middle of all the other ones that we've done, which is another place where when we're shading, it really helps out for us to see where that final image is. Okay, so these can be tedious. You just have to be careful that you're paying attention to your negatives. You're looking at each different rule on its own, okay? So all we're doing is saying, okay, one translation. Then I'm going to do another transformation. Then I'm going to do another transformation, just one at a time. And to do each one, you're just looking at the column in front of it. All right, so to do this translation, I look at these points. To do this rotation, I looked at these points. All right, so keep that in mind when you're doing these. And again, a table is going to be your best friend in helping you keep track of everything. So I highly recommend that you are always using those tables. All right, so let's take a look at example 4. This one's going to be a little bit different. We want to say which transformation does not map A onto B. All right, so we're kind of going to be given all the transformations here, and then we want to see which ones work. All right, so if I reflect across the line x equals 0, all right, remember that x equals 0 is my y-axis. All right, so let's just sketch that. Now, when you're doing these, I would suggest doing them very, very lightly with a pencil because you're going to really want to erase it every time. So you're not going to want to draw it really dark because you want to check each one of these. Or what you can do is you can copy each picture a couple of times to see if it works. But if you want to keep your notes kind of clean, you don't really have to do this, especially if you're one that kind of really writes really dark all the time. but I want you to try to draw it lightly just so you can kind of see where things go. So if we reflect across the y-axis, so I'm going this way because this is my y-axis. Remember, 1 away, here's this point. 3 away is going to be this point. 2 away is going to be this point. So I'm going to end up with, whoop, come on, this triangle here. And then if I translate it, x and then y minus 1. So that means I'm not moving my x, but I'm going to subtract 1. So that means this is going to come down, this is going to come down, and this is going to come down. So this is my final figure down here. All right? So this does not go on to B. So this one here does not work. Okay? There can be more than one. It's not necessarily just going to be one that doesn't work. We're going to say that there could be more than one. All right? So that means you have to try them all. Now, if you're taking a multiple choice test, it'll just be one, but we want to look at each one of these. All right? So next thing we're going to look at is 180-degree rotation. So when I look at 180-degree rotation, all right, remember I'm switching my x and my y. So when I do this here, so this point is -1, 0, or not switch, just negate. I'm going to be +1, 0. Okay, so we're just changing the signs for x and y. This is -3, 2. So then I'm going to go 3, -2. Okay, this is -2, -4. I'm going to go +2, +4. So this is my, we'll make this green for all the ones that are kind of in the middle. Okay, this is my first one. All right, then I'm going to reflect across the line y equals 0. Well, remember that y equals 0 is the x-axis. So if I reflect over the x-axis, this point stays the same. All right, this one comes up 2, it's going to go here. This one's going to go down 4. So then this is going to be my new triangle. All right. Then from here, I want to follow the translation x plus 2, y plus 2. So that means that for every point, I'm going to go 2 to the right and 2 up, which is here. From this point, I'm going to go 2 to the right and 2 up. And from this point, I'm going to go 2 to the right and 2 up. So this triangle does put us right on top of my other one. All right, so this one does work. Okay. And I want to make sure that this is clear for looking at which ones actually work. So this one does not work, so it's kind of like circling it. This one does work. Okay, so that's part B. Then we're going to look at part C. Okay, we're going to start by translating it -2, -2. So the whole thing is going to go back 2, down 2. Back 2, down 2. Back 2, down 2. All right, so then my first stop is here. All right, then we're going to reflect it across the y-axis. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over to 5. This is at -4, so we're going to go to +4. All right, so then this is our last transformation. and it does not work either. Okay, we need to go straight up after this 4 in order for this to work. Okay, or if we notice something here, if I take B down 2 and over 2, B is going to end up right here. This one is backwards. This maps B onto A, not A onto B. All right, because if I reflect it across the Y here, that's going to work. But it's the wrong way around, okay? We want to go A to B, not B to A. All right? So this one does not work, which answers kind of our question. And then we're going to look and see whether or not this last one works. All right? So we're going to start with a translation of -2 and +2. So I'm going to take this point left 2, then up 2. Take this point left 2 and up 2. And this point left 2 and up 2. Okay, so then we're going to draw that one in. That didn't change colors, but that's okay. Then we're going to reflect this one across the Y. So this is 5 away, 5 away, 3 away, 3 away, 4 away, 4 away. This one is going to land us right on top of this one. So this one does work. Okay, so 2 of these didn't work, 2 of these do. All right? If you have any questions on that, please let me know. But the whole point of this is to show you that there's not just one sequence of transformations that's going to put one figure onto another figure. All right, we can do this multiple different ways to get A onto B. All right, so we could have done several different things. Like both B and D worked. They were different. One rotated, one just translated and reflected. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways we can do this. So if you have questions, please let me know. Write it down in your notes. And then what I would like for you guys to do is go ahead and give this one a try. It's only 2 transformations. So again, I want you to start, write the coordinates of your pre-image, do the translation, and then give me the reflection. All right, so I want you to pause the video now and then go ahead and do these, and then when you're ready to check your work, hit play. All right, so go ahead and check your work. Pause the video if you need to. Make sure if something went a little weird, make sure you're looking at each coordinate in each spot and see which coordinates you might have gotten wrong, which ones you got right. And then, as always, if you have questions, please make sure you write them down and ask me. All right, so I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will see you all later, and have a good one.